this turned on and kind of get started here. Take a look. Yeah, you guys have, after this week, just 2 weeks left, right? Weeks 14 and 15. You'll note that there aren't any assignments for those weeks. You just have quizzes for both those weeks. That's because we kind of ran out of problems to do that with finance, and so it's more, the quizzes are just more open up the book again, kind of look in there, see what you can find, et cetera, et cetera. I'll probably talk about those things a little bit, and yes, I will give some quizzes about those things. So you might not have a quiz, maybe an attendance quiz on the Tuesday when we get back from break, Thanksgiving break, but then Thursday and the following week, you can expect that I'll have some short quizzes for you to kind of keep you on your toes a little bit, and they might be a little more serious than these attendance quizzes that I kind of give you. So yeah, now I had talked about Oracle a little bit, and two reasons I kind of want to go back on this. One is I forgot to record last time, and so I've hit the record this time because our one distance student, this is actually the company that she's doing her paper on, and so I kind of feel bad that I didn't get that recorded and sent out. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I'll try not to repeat myself. Instead, I'm going to get into a couple other things to show you guys how I look for things, when it gets to the annual report. I haven't really looked at an annual report yet, and so kind of want to do that, show you guys where you can kind of find some things. Most annual reports are pretty darn similar. The format of them is, people aren't trying to reinvent the wheel, and so these companies, when they write their quarterly or annual reports, they pretty much follow a script. And I'm sure that a large part of that's required by the SEC when they submit these particular reports. So, when we looked at Oracle just quickly, there's a few things that kind of jumped out at us, right? For one, if you look at the total cash and ST investments, okay, man, look at that. That going from 67, they had $67 billion in cash, and they've depleted that down to, in the last report, which would be a quarterly one, 11 billion, okay? Huge decrease in cash. Well, what happened there? We'll find out maybe. Take a look at it, okay? And that's reflected in the current assets, again, same thing. But here, look at goodwill, going right along, just the same. And then again, in the last report, all of a sudden that jumps up to 61. It went from 43. So an increase of about 28 billion. Now, what happened? Okay. Ooh, yeah, I mean, that would be our initial guess, is that they bought something, right? They bought another company, merged or acquired. Yep, and then long-term assets, or total assets. Yep. Yeah, they jumped a little bit here, but these have been increasing, kind of steadily, probably kind of with sales and whatnot. So maybe that's some plant and equipment and whatnot that they kind of buy in. But, total assets as a result of that goodwill. And remember, goodwill then is kind of that difference between the book value of a company and what you actually pay for it. And we call that goodwill, okay? And they'll get to amortize that a little bit over time and get some tax benefits from that a little bit. And the current portion of their long-term debt jumped up, so what do we think? Did they maybe borrow a little bit of money? Or, and this one, I don't know if I can find it quickly today. I looked it up last week, I think, when I was talking about this. But if I look through the annual report, I found that they had some maturing bonds, I think they were, and they just paid them off, okay? Or they were going to come due in this next year. They're coming due, and so they either have to pay them off by refinancing them or using cash, to pay them off. So I think, if I remember right, that's what it was. But again, I'm not going to probably find that one because I didn't find it this morning right away. I wasn't really looking for that right away. I was looking for a couple other things. So remember, if I go up here and I hit the summary, I can go to the SEC filings, okay? And I'm looking for the 10K in this case. There's the 10Q. That might be interesting because I might find some of that recent information that was in there, okay? But some of that stuff's in this 10K. Now, it's dated June 21, okay? But that, and it's actually June 21 of 2022, but that's actually their 2021 year-end report. report that goes into May of '22, because they label that the year starts for them. Remember, when we looked at their financial reports there, they ended May '22, okay? So I opened that up, got it up here in the PDF format, and the first thing, page 39 in here someplace, 35, 6, 7, 8, 39. Acquisitions, right? So we presumed when we saw that, okay, something, jumped up, right, by about 28 billion. Okay, so you just kind of cruise through this a little bit. Let me go back up here though. Yeah, most of these have this, their table of contents, right? And you get down to here, and you see this management's discussion of and analysis of financial condition and results of operations. It starts on page 36. Your guys' pages might obviously be different, okay? But that's kind of maybe where I want to start. And there's about 20 pages there, and most of yours will probably be kind of similar. And a lot of that's just dialogue that you kind of want to scan through a little bit. But if you see something like I saw there, and that we assumed was an acquisition, I can click on that. It takes me right to there. I found this earlier, so that's why I'm scrolling through quickly. But then it says acquisitions, right? Okay. On December 20th, 2021, we entered into an agreement and plan of merger with Cerner Corporation, a provider of digital information, for a preliminary estimated purchase price of approximately $28.2 billion. Just about matches exactly what we saw there in the increase in goodwill, right? So there wasn't a lot of book value for Cerner Corporation, and I don't know anything about Cerner Corporation, but they paid goodwill for it, okay, because Cerner probably has some other business ties and things like that, businesses going on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, so we're able to find that, reading through this part. Now, one other thing that I noticed, I'm going to go back and show you. So on the financials, income statement, oops, let me do this because I like that better. There was a big drop off in earnings, right? Okay, we went 12. Their earnings before taxes. This is kind of sort of consistent, not a huge thing. But then here there was this big drop off. Okay, what is that? About 5 billion, something like that, maybe. And so I'm kind of wondering what that is. And again, I looked this up a little bit earlier, but you get down a little further into this. I forget where it actually started, but I know what page I'm looking for. And yeah, you guys are going to have to kind of scroll through this, kind of read through this. That's why, take these PDFs and download them. If you see something that was kind of a little bit weird in 2020, you should download all 5 of them, actually, and just have them there. It takes you about 2 seconds to do that, right? Have them on your computer. Then you kind of start looking through them, and so in this case, it came down here, and I go, acquisition-related and other expenses. Acquisition-related and other expenses, da-da-da-da-da-da, and they show a little calculation of it here. Well, shoot, in 2021, it was $138 million. In 2022, it was $4.7 billion. That pretty well accounts for that decrease, right, in the net income, okay? Not totally, but it pretty well accounts for that. And it says, due to litigation-related charges of $4.7 billion, which we generally do not expect to incur, is further described in Note 16 of Notes to Consolidated Financial Statements included elsewhere in this annual report. And so I might want to go look for that Note 16 and see. I think the notes are way down here. Maybe I'd have to go see if I could find them. But I didn't find those this morning yet. I hadn't looked at them, but I think I could find it. There's 22. Let's see if we got 18, 17, 16. Nope, that's not it. That's something else. Because that says equal rights and privileges, so it doesn't have anything to do with our. It's up in here someplace. I looked, and no, I don't think it was. Item 16 form, no. Here we go, maybe this is it. Yeah. Note 16, legal proceedings. So if I read through that, okay, I would find, what accounted for that 4.7 billion. It could be a few other things that are in there, okay? Derivative litigation, securities class action, and derivative litigation. Okay, so it would be in there, it would explain where that 4.7 billion, but you can tell it's gonna take a page of reading, and it's kind of small, and a person might have to read it a little bit more thoroughly and kind of digest it. So these things, they jump out at you a little bit on those financial statements, and then this is where you go find them. And I just kind of wanted to show you that on these annual reports, how you kind of open them up, take a look at them. You can go to they're 100 pages, and that's kind of daunting, but generally you can kind of narrow it down. It took me, even to find this note 16, which I hadn't found earlier, it took me all of 30 seconds, maybe 1 minute to find it. And so, yeah, it'll take you guys a little bit longer to get used to it and kind of scroll around in there. So do that. Those are the important things in this. It's not just telling me what the numbers are. It's also explaining to me why the numbers happen, And so would I read this and be able to tell you that 4.7 billion, Oracle remitted the entirety of a $3 billion judgment and related 1.7 billion of accrued post-judgment interest and awarded costs? Would I tell you that had to do with this Hewlett-Packard? Okay, it was a Hewlett-Packard company litigation against Oracle, probably a violation of a trademark or something like that, or a patent or something. I'd have to go back and take a look and see what it says. But there's the 4.7 billion that accounted for the loss in earnings, okay, because it's an unusual item that shouldn't reoccur. So, okay, any questions? Go ahead. Future versions of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, it's there. Like I say, it wouldn't take too much to read through this. It's only a page, okay, and so it's right there. Again, yeah, kind of download them, kind of take a look at. If you got questions, holler at me too. I can. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think the SEC actually requires it to be in fairly common language. So, yeah, you don't get. Usually, this is pretty understandable. You'll get some. Colin, question? Yeah, that's fine. You, you can, yeah, if you're just giving me the general numbers and whatnot. And I'm not, yeah, you probably should cite those too, I guess. But like this, you just put annual report 2021. Boom. You might say, yeah, websites, that's fine. Yep, yep. Put it in parentheses after the sentence or at the end of the paragraph that you've done, and that's fine, yeah. No, you don't need a bibliography. No. As long as you do it in text, within the narrative, then you don't need a bibliography. So, yeah, yeah. You know, I grade on writing and don't, so I'm gonna check you. You guys have probably seen that in some of the stuff you've submitted already. I'm gonna check your spelling, your grammar, those types of things. But to me, it'd be a little more intermediate writing class to get into citations using APA or MLA or those types of things. And so, yeah, yeah. And I'm not an expert in those things either to tell you which way is right or wrong. I'm not a real expert on APA or MLA or any of those. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I want you to cite because I don't want you plagiarizing, right? So I want you to cite your stuff, but I'm not terribly concerned that you do that in a format that's a little more advanced. Okay, good question. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to quit then and let you guys